Hey, what's going on, guys? Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. And in this video, we're going to address the Jannik Sinner doping scandal that broke earlier today. We're going to look at all the facts that have been released so far and look at some of the player responses to the allegations. If you want to see all the updated information, stay tuned. It's coming up next. So the first thing that we want to look at is when Jannik Sinner actually tested positive for a banned substance, because he's playing this entire season without issue. He did miss the Olympic Games a few weeks ago, but that was due to tonsillitis. So that was for a totally different reason. That wasn't because of a banned substance issue. So if we go back to March, the Indian Wells tournament, Sinner made a semifinal run there before losing that event. But on March 10th and March 18th, he was required to give urine samples, as all players are if they're called upon. And in that situation, he ended up testing positive for a banned substance called clostebol. But the crazy thing about his positive test for clostebol is he actually tested positive for 1/1000th of a gram of the substance, right, in his urine samples, both on the 18th and the 10th of March. So the amount that he tested positive for was extremely small, but these tests are very sensitive for a reason, right? Is to keep the sport as clean as possible. We know that Sinner was suspended twice in April for those positive tests, but his team was able to appeal those suspensions, right? As the #1 player in the world, he has different financial means than other players might have who are ranked 100, 200, 300 in the world. So his team was immediately able to file appeals to those suspensions and have those suspensions overturned or frozen. And that's why he was able to play on the tour from, right, April all the way through to August at this point, with Jannik just recently winning the title in Cincinnati, beating Tiafoe in that final. So what exactly is clostebol and how can it help a player perform better? In any player's case or any sports case, clostebol is considered to be a weak steroid compared with other performance-enhancing drugs. It can help build muscle and assist in the recovery process following an intense workout, allowing athletes to train harder. It is also found in various therapeutic creams available without prescriptions in various countries, Italy being one of those countries. But we know with all drugs, right, that all drugs have benefits, but also have side effects. So what are the side effects that we see typically with clostebol? Anabolic steroids, including clostebol, can lead to mood swings, increased aggression, irritability, and in some cases, psychiatric disorders such as depression and anxiety. These effects can deteriorate mental health and well-being over the course of time. So the big question is, how was Jannik exposed to clostebol in the first place, if it was an accident and if it wasn't intentional? Apparently, clostebol is included in various over-the-counter products in Italy. The ITIA investigation concluded that an over-the-counter healing spray containing clostebol had been brought to Indian Wells by Sinner's physiotherapist, Umberto Ferrara. Ferrara acquired the spray back in February. Sinner's physiotherapist, Giacomo Naldi, then cut himself using a scalpel that he used to treat calluses on Sinner's feet at that tournament. Naldi used the spray to treat the cut, and according to the full decision of the tribunal, did not check the contents of the spray or see that present on the label of the canister that the spray contained clostebol. That same physiotherapist then conducted massages and treatments on Sinner between March 5th and March 13th. According to Sinner's team statement, the physiotherapist treated Jannik, and his lack of care coupled with various open wounds on Jannik's body caused the cross-contamination. So there's obviously some pretty clear evidence that this could have been an accident and that this cross-contamination could have been purely coincidental. One thing that's a little alarming, though, is when you look at the packaging for this product, it clearly says doping with a big red circle around it and a slash through it that tells you that this product contains ingredients that could be flagged for doping if applied to an athlete. But some of the most important things is not what you think of the situation, how you're recovering from the situation. It's what your peers think of the situation. So what do we get on social media today? We got from Nick Kyrgios, ridiculous. Whether it was accidental or planned, you get tested twice with a banned steroid substance. You should be gone for 2 years. Your performance was enhanced. Massage cream, yeah, nice. Dennis Shapovalov, can't imagine what every other player that got banned for contaminated substances is feeling right now, and then a minute later tweeted out different rules for different players. Liam Brody, another tour player, also tweeted out, whether Sinner was doping or not, this is not right. Plenty of players go through the same thing and have to wait for months or years for their innocence to be declared. Not a good look. Tennis Sandgren chimed in after that. This is ridiculous. Secondhand steroids through a massage. ATP always looks out for their moneymakers. Good for business, bad for transparency and integrity. And Gasteo Elias tweeted out, tennis is officially a joke. So we can see when this information first came out, right? Peers definitely not easing up on Jannik Sinner, especially again, world number one. And with other players having been banned in the past, I think people are a little bit upset with the treatment that Jannik was able to get here and how he was able to play through the circumstance. So the next big thing we want to look at is Sinner guilty or innocent in this case. And if we go with the information that was released today, Sinner was cleared by a panel of 3 independent people, a tribunal, and 2 of those 3 people did not know his identity. And here's what those 3 experts had to say. Dr. Xavier de la Torre, based on the data reported in the literature and on the data obtained in experiments conducted in his laboratory, considers it plausible that the findings in the first sample and second sample of the player are the result of a contamination provoked by the activities of the physiotherapist who was treating the player at the time the samples were collected. Jean-Francois Naud concluded that based on the first sample, the likelihood that the player's explanation is plausible, the roughly estimated concentration of 100 picograms per milliliter is a small concentration and could be obtained by cross-contamination as published in the scientific literature. Considering also the second sample and specifically its specific gravity and the low clostebol concentration detected in similar to the previous AAF, it is possible that the second AAF result comes from the same administration/contamination as the first AAF reported. Professor David Cowan concludes that the player's explanation for the finding of the clostebol in the first and second samples as having arisen from him unknowingly be contaminated by his physiotherapist who was using spray to be entirely plausible based on the explanation given and the concentrations identified by the laboratory. Even if the administration had been intentional, the minute amounts likely to have been administered would not have had any relevant doping or performance-enhancing effect upon the player. Further, he can find no evidence to support any other scenario. So from that tribunal, right, of 3 people looking at the evidence and looking at the findings, 2 of which did not know it was Jannik Sinner, we can see clearly that even if he did test positive for this substance, they don't believe that it would actually increase his performance in any way. So if Sinner's completely innocent in this case, right, and has no fault at all, are there any penalties for what happened, and does he lose anything financially or rankings point-wise from this situation? We see that the ATP handed down, right, a loss of 400 ranking points for the Indian Wells event, also fining him $325,000. So there's some pretty serious circumstances and penalties facing Sinner from this entire ordeal, even if it wasn't his fault. So what do you guys think of this entire situation? Is Jannik Sinner guilty or innocent of doping? Djokovic, again, this U.S. Open, going for his 25th Grand Slam win, so it's a really big slam for him. And Sinner, right, trying to maintain that #1 ranking and win another slam in 2024. If you guys found this video helpful or learned anything at all today, make sure you hit that like and subscribe button. I'm Jason Frausto for TennisUnleashed.net. I'll see you next time.